In this video we're going to take a look at whether article spinning still works and whether or not it's just a waste of effort. In case you're not sure, article spinning is one of those shortcuts that sounds great in theory but doesn't necessarily live up to your expectations. The simple theory is that words or sentence fragments or even complete sentences and paragraphs are swapped out with similar words or sentences or whatever. Then, again in theory, the search engines will decide that each spun version of the article is unique and they could potentially show it in the results. So far, so good, but that's the theory. Does it work in practice? Well, the biggie is, in practice, what do you swap and what do you leave alone? And if you leave too much alone, does that just defeat the whole object of the exercise and mean that your articles still aren't exactly unique in the eyes of the search engines? There's services like Copyscape that will tell you how unique they are, and they give a good idea of what Google thinks. But anyway, most article spinning software works by changing either single words or a handful of words that are adjacent to each other, and that's probably best explained with an example. I chose "the cat sat on the map." It's a fairly simple example. I ran it through a couple of spinners online. One of them only swapped out the word cat for feline and didn't come up with any other ideas. So you get "the feline sat on the mat," which would maybe work unless a human who'd actually encountered the phrase, and there's 438,000 times it's used on Google in that whole phrase, read it, and then it would likely just jar because "the feline sat on the mat" just doesn't sound right. And the other suggestion tool I used decided that the word cat could be swapped for any of these words: kitty, feline, kitten or pet. So you'd have "the kitty sat on the mat" or "the pet sat on the mat." Right, that's really defined. Or "the feline sat on the mat," we got back to that one again, or "the kitten." So, ish. But don't particularly sound English. And then if your gibberish detector is on full blast, it had to think that mat could maybe be swapped with pad. Yes, a pad, maybe a sparring floor. Well, that's an interesting one. A yoga exercise mat. Cat's doing yoga. Yeah, maybe. Or a sleeping pad. Going back to the sparring floor, I think even Tom and Jerry would be hard-pressed to find a use for that. And so it goes on. Their final suggestion was "this pet seated on the sleeping pad." So they swapped "the" for "this." That's pretty bad. So you got "this pet," which is just wrong. Seated, again, "this pet seated" is wrong. So you can see how bad these are, how fast they are, and it does explain why there are so many gibberish pages on the web, because even a young child would know better than to write something like that. And the other thing is that Google's algorithms would also definitely realise that it was gobbledygook, just designed in a futile attempt to fool them. And then they'd mark the page as one that was never worth including in the results, and quite probably flag the page as having negative implications for whichever site you were trying to rank. Yet people still happily buy article spinning software in the belief that spun articles are fine because they're not their own site. It's kind of someone else's garbage. The other alternative is to use a real human being to spin or more likely rewrite the article. There are services out there that offer this option. iWriter is one that springs to mind, but the price of getting an article rewritten is actually not much cheaper than getting it written completely from scratch. And in fact, iWriter, because they won't let the base level writers rewrite articles, it's actually cheaper to get a cheap writer to write than it is to get a more expensive one to rewrite. But that's another thorny part. Personally, I'd suggest that every time you don't use a computer program, it just hasn't got enough knowledge, and I don't think it's going to have for quite some time yet, to be able to rewrite articles successfully. And it's actually quite easy to write an article from scratch. I do it all the time and it just takes a bit of practice. Or you can record it. That's pretty much what I'm doing in this video. Just record the audio, send it to someone to transcribe it. On somewhere like Fiverr, it's $5 for 10 to 15 minutes worth of transcription. That's 2 or 3 articles. And both of those work a lot better than trying to cheat. And if you'd like help with your article writing, check out, there's a link below this video on fast article writing tips. Some of I've written, it's what I use all the time when I'm writing articles because they work. So check that out, check that link out. Thanks for watching.